You can probably tell from my voice that I'm sick, right? My nose is all stuffy. I woke up this morning to a pile of tissues next to me because I was blowing my nose all night. Saigon's weather has been so strange lately. It's cold, guys. Do you feel it? Especially in the evenings and early mornings, the wind is so chilly. For people who aren't sick, it might feel refreshing, but for me, I just feel too cold, so I have to keep all the windows closed at night. There's something different today. I'm recording this podcast in the morning. It's only a little past 6 a.m. When I walked into my office and saw how beautiful it was outside, I just suddenly felt like recording a podcast, that's all. Sometimes it just happens like that, you know? The sunlight was casting over the green lawns, turning the green into a golden green. In today's podcast, I want to talk about something I've observed these past few days, something I've realized. That at our age, we are truly very strong, guys. Often, we might think we're weak, but that's not entirely true. My mom has her summer break, so she's come to Saigon to stay with me. As a teacher, she gets a paid vacation during the summer, which is really nice. But observing our two generations, I can see a very clear difference. It seems that older people truly need connection with others. They need a community. If my mom stays home for too long, she starts to feel very restless. Perhaps that's why she often goes for walks and spends a lot of time outside every day. Of course, I also like to walk in the mornings, so having a walking buddy makes me very happy. By this time, Mom would have already been walking for a while because she wakes up much earlier than me. But after recording this podcast, I'll go down and join her, bringing a book along. She walks more, I walk less, so I'll read my book while we wait for each other. That's how it is. I've come to realize that on ordinary days, when I'm by myself, I still feel comfortable, I still feel fine. But it's not the same for the older generation. They need a lot of connection from others, and they also want to go out into nature and so on. They don't like the feeling of just being stuck indoors. They find it suffocating and tiring. Sometimes, looking at our generation, I feel a bit of pity. We go to work from morning till evening, then come home, shower, take care of ourselves, scroll through our phones, and go to bed. Of course, some of us have many friends, go out often, and connect with each other, like playing pickleball, for example. I also have a group that plays pickleball on Mondays and Wednesdays, and I join in occasionally, which is quite fun. But compared to our parents' generation, it seems they have many more relationships than we do. Do you feel that way? They have so many, and they find it very difficult to be alone. Of course, it's also due to the environment. For example, in areas that aren't as modern as Ho Chi Minh City, or what we call rural areas, my family's home isn't exactly rural. It's a developed city too, but the lifestyle and habits are very different. People there have a stronger sense of community. Like San's mom, she used to play pickleball every day. So now that she's here and can't play daily, she's probably itching all over. So, sometimes I really want to introduce my mom to my friends so she can play pickleball with them. Because I prefer tennis, not pickleball. And when I go back to my hometown, I often run into my mom's friends. They frequently organize meals, inviting each other for breakfast, coffee, almost every single day, guys. Every day, they meet up daily. If one person doesn't call, another will, forming little groups and having so much fun. So I still often go out with these aunts. And I like it, I really like hanging out with older people, guys. I don't know why, I just do. But whenever I go back to my hometown, trying to meet my own friends is quite difficult. It's not easy at all. Because our generation now has so many things to worry about, work, family. Whereas now our moms have more time. But when I see this, I also reflect on our generation, the economic development. Perhaps that's why we have more distance between us. We seem to have less need for human-to-human connection. Less, guys. Do you feel that way? Sometimes you might think, oh, you're so good. Because you can endure loneliness. You can focus on your work and dedicate so much effort to making money, and sometimes you're not overly dependent on meeting friends every day. It's like that. At first, I also got caught up in my work. There was so much to do. I didn't have much time to take my mom out. I still took her for simple coffee dates, but sometimes I noticed she seemed a little sad or bored. Sometimes she'd go for walks alone because I was busy working. So, I felt bad for her, which is why I've had to find many fun activities for her to experience. For example, I'd ask my friends if anyone plays sports or pickleball so she could join them. So she even took a few classes. I also found some places, like a Korean sauna near home, which was also enjoyable. When I take her out like that, she's so happy. And meeting friends. Of course, she doesn't have too many friends here, but overall, I feel that older people are lonely and they show their loneliness. They express it. But for us, it seems we are lonely, and we've grown accustomed to that loneliness, and we don't have a strong need to connect much. If I compare it to myself, work is still my top priority. Of course, at this age, I really enjoy my work, I love working, and I love discovering myself. Besides that, I also meet up with friends. Although my personality makes it very easy to make friends, it's just that as I get older, I want to limit it. Quality over quantity, you know? I don't need many friends, but each time we meet, there needs to be a sense of resonance. To be honest, there are many encounters where we might play tennis just once, and they'll suggest, let's go for coffee, let's grab a meal. I'm open to it. I have many such meetings that I find very enjoyable, but they are just casual encounters. Whether they develop into friendships afterward depends on each person. There will be some weeks when I don't go out to eat or have coffee with anyone, but the person I meet most every day is my assistant, and we mostly discuss work. That's largely how it is. And on some evenings, I'll meet up with friends, or during lunch, I'll have a meal with friends. On weekends, I also have friends who love to wake up early for breakfast, read books, or go book shopping together. So, overall, when I look at older people and how they live, I feel that we in our generation are actually very strong guys. Most of the time, we spend alone, striving for self-development. Do you feel that way? Young people today face a lot of pressure. Of course, I'm not saying older generations didn't have any, they did. Each stage, each generation has its own unique pressures. I'm just talking about the aspect of loneliness. That loneliness and the fact that we spend so much time working. Of course, from another perspective, as a young person like me, sometimes I find that dedicating more time to work is better. In a way, we can invest in ourselves for greater stability, both financially and mentally. Because sometimes, meeting too many people can be purely for entertainment, or what we call gossiping, or things that don't truly supplement or nurture life in a developmental way. Sometimes, talking too much or too long can become preachy. When I hang out with the older ladies, I know that most of the conversation sometimes involves talking about someone else. Of course, in those moments, I don't pay much attention, nor do I get involved, because it doesn't concern me. As I get older, I feel that meeting someone, talking to someone, is very important. But I assert that we are very strong, very diligent people, even if life becomes increasingly lonely. Yet, we don't try to seek something from the outside. We still focus on nurturing our own lives. That's a wonderful thing. Sometimes you want to connect with many people, you go out, that's also great. But let's not forget, I'm sorry guys, but let's not forget that the greatest source of energy must come from within ourselves. From within ourselves. I know that sometimes you feel like you need to meet others to feel that life has meaning, that life has joy, that life has many experiences. But in reality, everything must come from within you, and most of the time we will be at home or at work. So, please don't feel lonely, because I think many of you are going through a similar period. For me, I actually decline more invitations than I accept, because my time is limited, and managing relationships isn't easy. There are times when everyone wants to meet up, and it can be a bit overwhelming. So I still try to skillfully arrange things so that each week I can allocate appropriate time for myself as well as for my friends around me. Some younger relatives ask me, San, if you fall in love or get married, will you even have time? Because they see me as too busy and wonder when I'd ever find time for love. But I believe life can always be balanced. Currently, I'm not married, so most of my time is dedicated to work, but when I start a family, surely most of my time will be for family. And dating? The important thing with love is harmony, compatibility, and togetherness. Meaning, of course, since I'm busy, I can't force the other person to always follow my schedule. But that harmony will make everything much more synchronized and simple. For example, both of us could have a tennis date because I love playing tennis and could play every day. Right now, I play about 3 times a week. So there, we'd have 3 tennis dates. We could have breakfast together. Then we'd go back and each focus on our respective work. Then maybe have lunch together or call each other during breaks. And in the late afternoon, once work is done, we could go swimming together, go for a walk, or visit a book cafe. Then, in the evening, we might have dinner together or not. If each person is too busy, they can just eat on their own. But I think the important thing is harmony and having a very similar lifestyle. Then it won't be too difficult. It won't be too difficult at all, guys. I believe dedicating time to someone is very important because the people we love also need care, they need intentionality and attention. So both should make time for each other. But adults can't always be constantly by each other's side, always clinging to each other. Everyone has their own life and their own development. And I want to make this podcast just to support, acknowledge, and encourage young people, those who might feel lonely in the big city but are working incredibly hard for their lives. And I want to say that you are not alone at all. No, we have bigger ideals and we are building a lifestyle that is less but more for ourselves. We should still meet friends, though. We shouldn't confine ourselves too much to one room. Still, occasionally invite friends to hang out. If there's a friend you haven't seen in a while, you can meet up to chat and eat. But if it's someone you don't really like, then don't bother. I have people on my blacklist, meaning meeting them is like not meeting them at all or even more tiring. I usually avoid such people. Our energy is limited, so meet people who make you feel comfortable and at ease. Sometimes, I increasingly feel that our ability to be alone and feel mentally stable is very important. Because we don't easily socialize with just anyone, nor do we easily let any story enter our lives. We have boundaries, distances, and standards. We live with ideals and our own unique style. We have our individuality and know what we need and what we want. Often, I hear things that I find very strange, like lower your standards to get married, or to have someone so you won't be lonely, and so on. In a way, I see that they have their own valid points. Meaning, for them, having someone to live with means completeness, it means less loneliness. But deep down, I believe whether you're lonely or not, whether you feel complete or not, must come from within yourself and whether you give yourself enough. Because external factors can change, someone can come and also leave. And the essence of a relationship must come from both sides. What do you have to offer? What can you give, not just what you receive from them? If we have the mindset of lower your standards to have someone take care of you, be by your side, then we're actually thinking more about our own benefit. Of course, there's nothing wrong with that. Thinking about our own benefit isn't wrong. But for me, for something to last long-term, it has to be from both sides. Value must come from both sides. That's what truly brings mutual respect, appreciation, and longevity. So, we need to be stable first, we need to feel complete when we're alone first. Then, having someone else will be so much more wonderful. So why should we lower our standards? If you think you need to lower your standards, that implies you believe your worth isn't enough, and you think if you maintain those standards, you won't find a suitable person. But I don't. I will always look for people who are similar to me, who have the same value as me. There's nothing high about it. If you think it's high, that might be your mindset, your life perspective. And for me, I don't often tell others whether their standards are high or low. Because I believe you always deserve what you deem suitable for yourself. At the same time, the important thing is how I am living my life before I give advice to others. Are you living a very happy, wonderful life by lowering your standards? Only then should you offer advice. Otherwise, look at your own life and see if you are happy. Many people, in fact, are struggling with their lives but love to give advice. As for me, I think I have many things and am very happy, very grateful for everything I have now. Each of us will have our own lifestyle, and if you don't have one yet, that's okay, just keep experiencing and looking deeper into yourself. A mentally stable person is rarely swayed by external factors. They have inner spiritual strength to maintain discipline in life, and I really like people like that. I admire people like that, and I admire myself. Of course, I'm not perfect, but I know what I want, and I also deeply admire you, the listeners of this podcast who resonate with this. You are striving hard, and you know what you need. You don't follow the crowd. You don't become weak. You have a certain balance. And if I were to give advice, I think perhaps you should pick up a sport or two. I often tell my coach that playing tennis, learning horseback riding, or playing pickleball are all about meeting people, meaning having a community to play and train together. It's not necessarily about making friends, but about meeting like-minded people who enjoy playing tennis together. Maybe afterward, we don't confide in each other about life, but we can share many things related to tennis, things that are a harmonious common topic for conversation. I really enjoy tennis sessions where I can meet many people. Being active and chatting is also a lot of fun. You can have such activities. Choose a sport that is good for both your physical and mental health. Two birds with one stone, right? I think the best way to find relationships is to find people who share your interests and lifestyle. Sometimes I go to tennis or pickleball sessions that I don't feel a connection with, and I don't go back. I need to go to places where I feel compatible. That energy is very important, guys. I simply wanted to share this with you all. To those striving in the big city, working hard to enrich themselves, I deeply understand. I believe your life will become truly wonderful. You know what's important and you know what to focus on. And you are very strong, you are amazing. I really support you. Strive harder, try even more, and seek the answers within yourself. Nurture a wonderful source of energy from within. That is the most important thing for you to achieve external things. Those external things will be better when your inner self is stronger. Once again, thank you for listening to today's podcast.